Outsmarting procrastination and laziness. Okay, so first things first, we have to understand the true reason behind procrastination and laziness towards an action. First of all, think about this. It's so much easier to be disciplined in FIFA 26 than it is to be disciplined in, I don't know, I remember back in secondary school you had homework, fam. It's way easier to be disciplined in FIFA than it is to be disciplined in the homework that you had to do when you were a kid. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but discipline isn't usually the problem. This isn't usually the problem. But that is the misconception that people have. A lot of people think that the problem is discipline, but it's not. Think about it this way. Like I said, you're disciplined in FIFA. There are probably many other things you're disciplined in. If you don't play FIFA or whatever game it is you play, you're disciplined in playing that game, because you can play that game for hours on end, straight hours on end. There are other things you're disciplined in. Say, cool, you're disciplined in. I'm just trying to think of an example quickly. You're disciplined in playing football. You can play football for an hour straight. You love playing football or basketball for an hour straight. There are a multitude of things in life that you're already disciplined in, but because you don't find it a struggle, you don't apply the connotations discipline to it. See, the main misconception people have is connecting these two words together: struggle and discipline. A lot of people think that in order for you to be disciplined in something, it has to be something that you struggle with. Now, the reason why people think this is because they associate discipline with how difficult something is, and whether you have the ability to keep going even if it's difficult. Now, difficulty isn't a problem. The problem is the fact that it is struggle. See, there are two different types of, I guess, being disciplined. And the better type isn't struggle, but rather it is effort. Now, you may be confused. Nathan, Guapo, what the hell was the difference between effort and struggle? They're the same thing. Well, they're not. The main difference between the two is this: the emotions felt upon taking the action. The emotions or base states felt upon taking the action. Think about it this way. When it comes to playing FIFA, I'm going to use FIFA as an example again, for hours on end, what emotions do you feel? Sorry, let me even put this in the middle. What emotions do you feel? You probably feel enthusiastic to play FIFA. you probably are in a state of peace of mind or feeling calm or peaceful. This is if you're not losing. If you're losing, you're probably fucking irate. But yeah. And these two connotations here, these two emotions, are literally the entire difference between the effort and struggle. Now let's talk about something people might find, people will give the label of discipline to, and will say that this isn't being disciplined. Sorry, they'll say that FIFA isn't being disciplined, but they'll say that this is work. Now, the connotations of the work that you do will most likely be frustration, and then probably boredom. Now, frustration and boredom. Are you seeing the difference here? The difference between these two. Yeah. No, if not, it's calm because I'm going to extrapolate it for you. Struggle is associated with negative emotional states. Effort is associated with positive or neutral emotional states. It's like climbing a mountain. First of all, do you see how within both of these, extrapolations, it's like two different poles of the same thing? It can still both be difficult, but the difference is the perception placed upon the action. Effort, positive or neutral emotional states. Struggle, negative emotional states. Sorry, not boredom, sadness. Got that mixed up here. Not boredom, sadness. Are you seeing what I'm encompassing here? What I'm talking about here? Effort is associated with positive or neutral emotional states, and struggle is associated with negative emotional states, but they can both be difficult. It's like the climbing of the mountain. Yeah, imagine this being the mountain, and you're now at the top. So you probably won't be able to see it because my camera's there. I'll draw it the other way. Imagine this. Oh crap, that's a terrible mountain. Imagine you're climbing this mountain, yeah? And you're at the top here. During this climbing, it will be difficult. But what makes this the action of climbing, something to do with effort instead of struggle, is the emotional states that you're feeling. You feel neutral or positive states, and you're not dreading it, you're not angry, and therefore once you get to the end of the mountain, you are overjoyed. You're overjoyed, and the reason why you're overjoyed is because of the effort that it took to get there. If it wasn't for that effort, the end result wouldn't really be all that great. And This is what people miss. People will say this, but they will attribute it to struggle rather than effort. They'll say, at the end of all the struggling, you will feel amazing because you struggled there. But it's not struggle, it's effort that you're looking for. Because like I stated already, people are disciplined already. Discipline isn't the problem. The problem is the emotional states that you are in upon taking the action. So now, how can we begin to become disciplined in things that we're not disciplined in already? How can we transfer some of that effort that we apply to FIFA to the same work that we do? How can we make it so that we are in neutral or positive states? How can we make it so that we are in alignment with the action that we want to take? The reason why someone procrastinates or is lazy in regards to taking a certain action that has to do with work is because you are not internally aligned with the work that it is that you want to do, or with the action that it is that you want to take. So now I'm going to use an example. Let's say you want to start going to the gym. Now, in regards to the gym, you probably attribute struggle to the gym if you struggle to go to the gym. So what you want to do is you want to shift from the current person you are that struggles to go to the gym to someone who loves going to the gym. Imagine that to be a bicep. I know it's a terrible bicep, and if anyone's arm looks like this, you should probably go to the doctor, because it's not supposed to. But you get what I mean. Anyways, you're going to want to shift your identity from someone who doesn't go to the gym or doesn't enjoy the gym to someone who loves the gym. And how you can do this is with this technique. Now, before I tell you the technique, you must realize that you must understand all of this first before you begin doing the technique. So, because it's your conviction or your understanding of all of the knowledge that I've basically told you here that gives the technique its power. Like I said before, you've probably heard this multiple times, but you are the placebo, etc., etc. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So the technique that I'm going to extrapolate to you is as simple as this. Before you take any action to getting the goal, which in this case is being consistent in the gym, you're going to mentally attune yourself from the person that you are now to the identity of someone who would like to do the action that you're doing, or who would like to go to the gym. Which is this is the example. So every morning, you're going to visualize a scene which is representative of being that person. So the scene has to be 3 to 5 seconds long. It has to utilize the 5 physical senses. Such as touch, taste, smell, hearing, etc. And this scene will bring in a certain emotion. Stop when you don't feel the emotion. And the key here is that you must realize that in order for you to actually shift into this identity, this person, you must stop seeing this technique as a simple visualization and instead see it as internally becoming that person. Now, the reason why you do this is because you cannot take the correct action. You cannot take the correct action within the wrong state of consciousness. No matter what action it is that you're taking, that action will not propel you to that identity or to that goal if you are not in the right state of consciousness. So it doesn't matter what action it is you're taking. If you're in a state of, for example, this example here is become consistent in the gym or getting a good physique. If you're not in the state of consciousness of someone who has a good physique, you are not going to take the correct action towards getting a good physique. Remember, the entire key here with mental science is reverse engineering the process through the understanding that the whole reason you even want things in life are to experience certain emotions. You experience the emotions without the external showcasing your desire to you. You feel it internally without any dependence on the external. So essentially, you're basically delusional. Okay? And you've heard it multiple times from people who talk about people in their lives who have reached any certain state of excellency in any endeavor. Before they seem to be that person, before they seem to have that achievement, internally, they already felt as if they already had it. At some point, they were delusional. At some point, they were delusional. They seemed to even sort of be crazy or delusional. Now, if you truly understand this, that means you must also understand that in order for you to get where you want to get to in life, you're going to have to detach from other people's opinions of you, because you can't allow yourself to be locked in a cage by other people's opinions. Okay, the lion was never concerned for the opinion of sheep. Now, moving on back to what I said, you cannot take the correct action within the wrong state of consciousness, because this is how it really works. Your identity perpetuates your model of life or reality, which perpetuates your beliefs, which perpetuates your emotions, which then perpetuates your behavior. Your identity, which is your state of consciousness, is literally what controls your model of life. It controls your perception, your beliefs, your emotions, which then obviously gets to your behavior. So the key here is to reverse engineer the process and focus on shifting towards a different identity. The key here is to focus on shifting towards a different state of consciousness. The key here is to focus on shifting to a different frequency. There are so many different buzzwords that people use, but the core conception of it is this: Okay, shifting from identity to identity, from state of consciousness to state of consciousness. Now, here's another way to think about it. Your state of consciousness is what garners the compelling thoughts that you have. And what I mean when I say compelling thoughts is, I mean the thoughts that make you take actions. This can be called your intuition. Oh, sorry. This can be called your intuition. Wow, that's really bad drawing. Just gonna type it. This can be called your intuition. The compelling thoughts can be called your intuition. So let me just actually move this up here. Put this, yeah, like this. The compelling thoughts can be what is your intuition. Intuition just stands for inner guidance. Now you can extrapolate this to be whatever you want. If you're religious, you can say it's guidance from God. If you are spiritual, you can say it's the inner guidance from the God within. It doesn't really matter as long as you understand that it's intuition at the end of the day. So this intuition creates compelling thoughts, which then creates actions or behavior. This is literally just another way of extrapolating this. How your identity creates your model of life, your beliefs, and then your emotions, and then your behavior, That is literally just a different way of extrapolating this. Whichever way makes more sense to you, you can go with. It doesn't really matter. Now, because we know this, we can now go back to this and understand why we're actually doing this, why we're actually visualizing every morning and every night. Sorry, I forgot to add that part before we go to sleep. Because the reason why you're doing it every morning and every night is because your brain is in the theta state. Now, in the theta state, your subconscious mind is most impressionable, all right? That is when, sorry, let me just, your theta state, that is when your subconscious mind, I'm gonna try and attempt to draw a brain here. That is a terrible brain, jeez. Okay, imagine this to be your brain. No, it's a terrible brain drawing, but hey man, I'm not an artist, I'm just here to, educate. Anyways, imagine this to be your subconscious mind. There is a sorry, I'm hearing a beep. Yeah, I don't know where. Okay, the beep is done. I don't know where that was coming from. Sorry about that, guys. Right, now like I was saying, the subconscious mind is there's usually a wall blocking it, yeah. And this theta state opens that wall, alright? The theta state is simply just being in a state of deep relaxation. Deep relaxation is literally the state that you will be in before you're about to fall asleep, or the state that you'll be in upon in a deeply meditative state. So your body will feel limb, you'll feel extremely relaxed. It's like you'll sink into the bed or you'll sink into the chair, etc., etc. You get what I mean? In the state of deep relaxation, Nathan. In the state of deep relaxation, why is that word so difficult for me to say? In that state, your subconscious mind is impressionable. So therefore, the visual images, the internally becoming is much easier. Okay. Now, that is why we do this. Okay, that is why we're doing this. Every morning, every night, 3 to 5 seconds long, you're visualizing a scene which utilizes the 5 physical senses, which is representative of what it is that you want, or representative of being the person who takes the actions that propels you to that certain desire, which in this case, for this example, is the gym. Alright. Now, because we're using the example of the gym, I'll give you a scene example for the gym right now. In this scene, you are, let me think. Okay, you have a good physique. Or if physique isn't your main purpose or your main goal, you've hit a certain weight. Let's say you're trying to lose weight, you've hit 70 kg. So you're trying to drop down to 70 kg from 80 kg, you've hit 70 kg. Okay. Now this is representative of literally just being consistent in the gym and in your diet, obviously, as well. At this point, but yeah, it's simple, really. First of all, you want to come to a specific understanding of what it is that you want, or what it is who it is that you want to be, and then visualize a scene which is representative of being that person, and then internally becoming that person. Because as a result of internally being, you will no longer I'm trying to draw eyes here. I don't think I can. Okay, so you no longer look for it on the external, and as a result, of its being in your internal, it will reflect externally. Boom. In fact, this is literally it, to be honest. This is the key here. But also, if you don't understand what internal is, it can be extrapolated as many different things. Subconscious mind, inner world, cause. Yeah, it can be extrapolated as many different things. I hope this, made it easy for you to understand what I'm talking about when I say internal. But yeah, as a result of it being in your internal, it will reflect externally, and you will no longer look for it on the external. So essentially, you will be delusional in a way. It's about how being delusional is like the realest thing. But yeah, anyways, that is pretty much it for how to outsmart procrastination and laziness. If I had anything else to say, it would just be this one simple tip. Minimalize this gap. I'm gonna draw it for you, see if you understand what the gap is. Oh my god, I might be a genius. Anyways, minimize the gap between thinking about taking the action and taking the action. This is literally just an extra tip from me. This doesn't really, focus on the perspective of mental science, but it's just an extra tip for me. But yeah, this is all the important stuff, alright? You cannot take the correct action without being in the correct state of consciousness in order to take that correct action. If you're in the correct state of consciousness, you'll be compelled to take the right actions. And for you to know what the right actions are, it could be as simple as the action, sometimes it will scare you. Maybe the action doesn't coincide with, let's say, someone else's opinion of you or other people's opinion of you, okay? But like I said already, you cannot let yourself be entrapped in a prison, all right? You cannot let yourself be prisoned by other people's opinions, all right? You've got to break out of that stage. I mean, cage, not stage. Could say stage if you wanted to, but cage just sounds better for the use case of the example that I'm using. Anyways, the emotion will sometimes scare you, excite you, or feel natural. Not the emotion, sorry, the action. Like I've said, positive states, buddy. Positive states. Positive or neutral states. So, for example, me making this YouTube video right now, do you think my emotional state right now is in a state of struggle? It's not. But it's not really positive either, it's just neutral, because this is just normal for me. It's just, I'm making a YouTube video. But yeah. Do I find this difficult? No, not really, to be honest. Actually, kind of. I don't know. Maybe a little bit. But yeah, like I was saying, you're basically just shifting from the mental state that you have. Not shifting, you're basically transferring the mental state that you have when you play FIFA, when you play these games that you like. Or, oh, here's a meme that I used to love. There's this meme of Iron Man hitting, I don't know, he was hitting metal or something. He was hitting metal. Actually, you know what? Let me even get it. 1 second. Let me even get the image. Look, here, Iron Man's hitting the metal, right? Now, there was a meme that said the difference between grinding for that one limited item and doing homework. When you're grinding for that limited item, you're enthusiastic about it. When you're grinding for hitting, I don't know, Legend on 2K, you're enthusiastic about it. When you're grinding for hitting Div 1 in Seasons or in Foot Champs, you're enthusiastic for it. it was difficult, but you were enthusiastic for it for most of the part. Now, doing homework, bro, don't even get me started, man. Doing homework in secondary school, you were probably dreading it, fam. Unless it was a subject you liked, you dreaded it. You dreaded it. It was annoying. It was frustrating. Now, we're simply just transferring the mental state of grinding for that limited item in that game, or grinding for that level in that game, to the work that you do, or to the gym, or to whatever it is that you don't seem to be disciplined in, whatever it is you're not disciplined in. Like I said, everyone is disciplined in something. The only difference is just applying what I've told you here, that state of consciousness, buddy. That's the only key here. Get in the state of consciousness, or get into the identity of somebody who would do that action and enjoy doing it, or be in a state of peace doing it, be in a state of enthusiasm doing it. Now, there's one more thing that you must realize. I made a mistake earlier here. When I was labeling the negative emotions of struggle, I put the connotation boredom in there. That was wrong. That's why I changed it later and I put sadness. One thing you must also understand is that within life, excellency follows the people who know how to be bored. Boredom is still possible even when mentally aligned with the action, while you're doing the action. Because think about it this way: when you're playing FIFA or 2K or Red Dead Redemption or GTA 5, you eventually get bored, right? But you still continue playing, because let's be real, we don't always stop. Don't know why I split the word there. We don't always stop playing the game when we get right. As soon as we get bored, we'll be bored for like maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and then we stop playing. Or we'll be bored, and then until there's something else to do, or until it's time to go to sleep, we won't stop playing. Or until you're hungry, you won't stop playing. You get what I'm trying to say here? Excellence follows the people who know how to be bored. Really, you must internalize the idea that you can be bored and still do something. You can be bored and still continue doing it, because that is the part of the effort. That's part of the effort. All right. But like I said, this is really for advice on what happens during your undertaking of the action. But all I've really extrapolated for in regards to effort and struggle is the before. Struggle is what creates that resistance. It's what creates that procrastination before the action is eventually taken. And that is all for today's video. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.